Vocabulary. Visarga. Creation. Janata. The people in general. Aga. Sins. Viplavaha. Revolutionary. Yasmin. In which. Pratisloka. Each and every stanza. Abadavati. Irregularly composed. Api. In spite of. Namani. Transcendental names, etc. Anantasya. Of the unlimited Lord. Yasaha. Glories. Ankitani. Depicted. Yad. What? Shinvanti. Do hear. Gayanti. Do sing. Grinanti. Do accept. Sarvaha. The purified men who are honest. Translation. On the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed to its bringing about a revolution in the impious life of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best, even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, and should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change, and as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing the commentaries on this particular stance of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend, China, has attacked the border of India with military spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land, which is not very suitable for habitation, and certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which you have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically there is propagation by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired place in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there's so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there's a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, conveying transcendental message for reviving for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general, and re-spiritualizing the world's atmosphere, is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies, despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we're sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. But when there is fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to help from the neighbors who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we're concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there's no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation with slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. Yet, it is in the marketplace because people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read. That is a natural instinct. Because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activity of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also will supply food for hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it's now presented with so many faults, for it's recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Kanana Salakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namovistam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavarantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I remember that in 1980 in Vrindavan, Jagadish Prabhu was a major leader at that time, quoted this verse and established that this is the proof of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And this is the evidence that Srila Prabhupada is a Shakti Avesh avatar. Because his mission is particularly described in Srimad Bhagavatam, to somehow or other flood the entire world with transcendental literature, in particularly Srimad Bhagavatam. And that mission is predicted there. Srila Prabhupada would take this verse and placed it in the preface of every part of Srimad Bhagavatam, again and again. So he highlighted this verse as like basically to show what he was doing. This is what he was doing, simply changing the world through transcendental literature, particularly Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is our, that is the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when we look in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we see that the principal evidence that he presented was the Bhagavatam. We see that when he quoted, mostly he would quote from Bhagavatam if he was supplying evidence, sometimes from other sources, but especially Bhagavatam. Then we see that his followers are especially turning to Bhagavatam. We see that Jiva Goswami established in the Satsang Dharma that actually Bhagavatam is the essence. He established first with Chandogya Upanishad that Bhagavatam is the fifth Veda, the Pancham Veda. And when he has established that Bhagavatam is as good as Vedic literature, non-different from Vedic literature, then he just deals with the conclusions of Bhagavatam only. Bhagavatam itself then is saying Nikamakalpatara Galitam Phalam Sukha Mukhatvam Nitadrava Samyutam Pivata Bhagavatam Rasamanayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukkaha, saying that this is the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. It's the essence of Vedic literature. So much Vedic literature is there. But here we go now to the essence. And this very essence, the ripened fruit of the desire tree of the Vedic literature, that is there. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we find a description how somehow or other Gopakumar traveled through the universe from one place to another, and when Gopakumar came to Brahmaloka, then Lord Brahma was saying, "Oh, very good that you came. You can take care of things and take the post, because I have to attend to some sacrifice, so I have to go." So then Gopakumar was fulfilling the function of Lord Brahma. And one of the things that happened was that all the Vedas personified came to Gopakumar. And it was a whole assembly there in the court of Lord Brahma. All these literatures were there, and all the different personalities. And then the Upanishads, they were speaking very loud. And they dominated the whole assembly. And they began to very loudly establish the impersonalist conclusions. So then some of the confidential Upanishads, like the Gopal Tapani, and some Agamas and some of the Puranas, including Bhagavatam, became very upset. And they said, "This is too much. These Puranas are hijacking the whole meeting. This is inappropriate. We cannot tolerate this." Therefore, they walked out. Now, they were very respectable, so when they walked out, that was a big drama, and everyone said, "Oh my God, we have offended them," and they went after them and said, "No, please, I mean, we didn't respect you properly, but please don't leave. We don't want to bring all kinds of inauspiciousness upon our head. And, no, please return. So they returned, and then they spoke.
And then they established immediately the essence which is summarized in Bhagavatam is Iti Chamsakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakalam Lokam Niryanti Yuge Yuge. That of all these incarnations of the Lord, this one incarnation is Swayam Bhagavan. All the other incarnations are either portions or plenary portions of the Lord or partial manifestations of the Lord. But Krishna is the original self-same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he wrote his thesis, which was almost finished in his Cambridge studies, and he wrote on Prabhupada. Although Tamal Krishna Maharaj went for a university education, that was not his real purpose. His real purpose was simply to establish Prabhupada on an academic platform. And who could do it better than Prabhupada's personal secretary? So as Prabhupada's personal secretary, who is a greater authority anyway on Prabhupada? And then there were all these scholars. So Maharaj, in his thesis, all these scholars had written about Prabhupada. And they had, there were some who just had not really written very favorable. They had written about Prabhupada as just a person who was sort of an overzealous missionary, old man on a mission. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj just like bang, 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 knocked them over. They were gone, finished. Just stomped them in the ground with good arguments. Then what he did, then there were scholars who had said something positive. So then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, and these scholars, they said very nice things about Prabhupada, appreciated. They actually made a nice contribution, but still they missed the point. Still they didn't really get it. Because all of them were actually seeing Prabhupada as a powerful, charismatic personality who was simply echoing what he had heard from others. But Tamal Krishna pointed out, no, he was not. He was not just doing so. Because he coined that phrase. He took the essence of Bhagavatam, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, and then he translated that into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, that is quite a mouthful. And the first time when I got the Krishna book, somehow or other, I got the Krishna book, before I knew much about Krishna consciousness. And I thought, this book is unreadable. Unreadable. Every 3 lines, Supreme Personality of Godhead, It's like, this is too much. It was just too much. But of course, it is not only, for me it was too much, but it wasn't just too much. It's like everything is in there. Everything is in there. Godhead. Godhead. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead who manifests in many features. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam, who is one without a second, and yet he has unlimited forms. That's Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all these forms are different manifestations of his different modes. Here we are, worshipping Krishna, worshipping Jagannath, worshipping the Sringadev, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, so many forms of the Lord. And it's like, how do you do all that? It's the one same Supreme Lord. Krishna and Ramachandra, practically the same, but Ramachandra is not revealing everything that Krishna is revealing. Lord Ramachandra then is described to be an expansion of Krishna. Sometimes it is mentioned that the Chaturvyuha, which is a further expansion of Krishna, appears as Lord Ramachandra and his brothers. So we understand that Prabhupada, by explaining this, was explaining the very essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by saying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he had included all the incarnations which are mentioned in Bhagavatam. We have various personalities who appear. Lord Kapila appears. We have a description about Yajna, the reddish avatar, who is the Lord in Treta Yuga for those who are performing yajnas, and Yuga Dharma then. And we get descriptions of Krishna, and so on. We get descriptions of Leela avatars, such as Vamanadev. We get, or Matsya, right? So many persons, all these are described. And all that is simply included in Godhead. It's all there. So just this word Godhead includes the whole Bhagavatam. Yeah, we can see. And then, yes, and then we see that Godhead is manifesting not only in personality, in a personal form, but also in energy. So we're seeing in Bhagavatam described that supreme absolute truth is manifesting in three features: Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. And Brahman then, the all-pervading spiritual energy of the Lord. Brahmana Pratistaham, everything is resting in Brahman. Whatever we see, it derives its energy from Brahman. Therefore, when we look at the sun, we understand that the sun derives its energy from Brahman. And Brahman, of course, is the energy of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about this Shakti Parinamavat. And said Brahman is the Shakti of the Lord, is the energy of the Lord. So Bhagavatam establishes that very